Just sitting here in the park still, watching the planes take off and thinking about base 12 math. I just read another little comment about someone says, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, and you know, fair enough. But in a way I do, because I've been studying this for a while, and what I realized, he says, oh, the comment goes something like, this is like saying that there's a difference between base 10 and base 12 is like saying there's a difference between German and Italian. And what I realized is that because we are already in the base, in a sort of like a wrong base or a flawed base or a base where we don't see things clearly, that's why we have that assumption, because we don't see the pattern at the bottom or the number that's at the bottom. We assume that in base 10 it's like 0.1 and 0.01 and 0.00001. So we just think it's 1, and so 1/10. And if we're in base 12, it's going to be 1/12, and if it's in base whatever, it's in 0.0 whatever. And that is just, it's all just arbitrary, and we're kind of making it up and applying that to the world. But actually in base 12, the smallest unit isn't 0.0001/12. It's actually 0.5 root 2. So that's an unusual and very specific length, and that's the base of the circle. That's the smallest unit. You can make your smallest little ring on the Cartesian planes, and that length is attached. It's anchored on the length of 1 on the Cartesian plane. And when you start there and then you build outwards using units of 0.5 root 2 as your building blocks, that's when you can build that structure for 360 degrees and just keep going. So the fact that that's accessible in base 12 is a huge thing. And I didn't really think about it initially. It just seemed like, okay, I didn't realize there was a connection between pi, and that's a unit of pi actually. So it's that 5/12 that is really interesting, and that we're missing in base 10. Where is it? There it is. We don't see that connection, that specific unit, and think, well, it's accessible in base 10, but it's not actually. 5/12. When you divide 5 by 12, you get a repeating decimal, and it doesn't add up the same way. It don't have that same precision. So that's just what I realized. So I get that all the time. Oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't understand math. But I think it's simply because people haven't explored, we haven't been introduced to this. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to introduce people to this very simple geometry, but the geometry of the circle is built